Hello and welcome to the Dream Team Professor podcast. My name is Scott, and in this episode, I'm going to be doing a beginner's guide on how to play the Sun Dream Team fantasy football game for the 2024-2025 season. So if you are joining us from last season or you've played Dream Team before, it might be a little bit too basic for you. But if you are a new player to the game, it will be perfect. If you have played before, I'm going to put timestamps below. So if you just want a little refresher on something you don't quite remember, or something that's changed, there'll be timestamps so you can skip around. But we're going to go from the very beginning with the basic setup first. So you can download the app and play via the Dream Team app, or you can go to the Sun Dream Team website. And then this is what's on the screen here. It's the website. So to start off with, you'll get this prompt here. It'll offer you a guide to playing the game, but it really is just like 3 little slides. So I would just click play now and I can talk you through it. So the first thing it'll ask you to do is pick a formation. Now, plenty to choose from. I wouldn't worry about it because you can change it later. This beginning part is almost a little prompt to get you learning how to use everything. But after you go through a few steps, it asks you to register. And if you don't register to play the game, all of this that you do before it gets wiped. So what I would do is just skip through this part, choose a formation, and you can change it later. So click on 4-4-2. You'll then get to the stage where you can pick a team. Again, you can choose later. You can change this later, all the way up until the first deadline, which is on the screen now, 16th of August, 8 p.m. So you've got plenty of time, depending on when you're watching this. But what I would do at this point is just auto-fill your team and then go back and change it later, make transfers later. Because otherwise you'll get halfway through doing your team, something will come up, and then you have to start from the very beginning again. So auto-fill it, and then you'll just have to click confirm afterwards. You can make changes if you like, but I think this is the best way to do it. Confirm your team, and then it gets to the next part, which is choose your captain. So I'll come on to captaincy. Your captain earns you double points each game week. But again, you can change it to any player before the deadline. So I would just stick it on anyone for now. And then you'll then have to pick a vice captain, which if you didn't play the Euros and you just played last season, this is a new feature. Dream Team didn't have a vice captain last season. So just pick a vice captain. This person will become your captain if your current captain doesn't play. Click confirm, like I said, change it later. And then the next part, enter your team name. Can be anything, and also it can be changed at a later date as well. The only thing is you have to keep it clean, otherwise it won't let you enter that team name. And apparently you can also get disqualified or ruled out of winning prizes if it is offensive. So I would just keep it clean and confirm your team. And then nice one, your team has been saved, you're ready to go. At this point, it will then prompt you with your sign up. So you'll just need to use your email, password, anything like that. But once you get that done, let's carry on. So now that's sorted, I'm going to talk you through the basics, because this is the sort of thing that is going to help you choose your team. I don't think there was any point in choosing the players that you wanted at that point, because you kind of don't know what the rules are and how to play. So we're going to go through the basics first. You build a team of 11 players. There's no limit from each club. So unlike FPL, for example, you can choose more than one player from a club. FPL is 3 players from one team. On this game, you could have a full Arsenal team if you could afford it, but your budget is that 50 million. The 50 million pound budget can change throughout the season. So at the start of the season, everyone will be assigned a price. You'll choose a team that comes to 50 million. But player prices can change once the season starts. So after each deadline, a player's value will go up and down or stay the same, depending on how they scored compared to what they're expected to have scored. So that'll be something that you sort of learn as you go along. But 50 million pound budget to start with to choose your players. You score points over game weeks. Now on Dream Team, all competitions are included in the game, which I think makes it, in my opinion, the best fantasy football game out there. So there's no weeks where you have nothing going on. So you get the Premier League, as always, but you get European football. So you get the Europa League Conference, the Europa League, and the Champions League all count towards your player scores. So that gets quite exciting later in the season. You also have the Carabao Cup, which I think starts in game week 2 of the Dream Team season. And you get the FA Cup as well. So I think that makes it a real standout from other games. The only European games that don't count are the qualifying stages. It's the group stages and then the knockouts. I'll take you through the point scoring a little bit later and how the game weeks work and the deadlines. But another thing that makes Dream Team stand out is the manager with the most points at the end of the season wins £50,000. So I think that's a pretty hefty prize pot compared to some of the other games out there. Runners up also get 1K if you finish second down to 11th. This was up to 21st, I think, or 22nd last season. But this has been cut back a little bit. So second to 11th all win £1,000. And then there are weekly prizes of £250 per game week. So the person that finishes with the highest score each game week will win £250. However, there are things called boosters, which are a little booster to your score that we'll go through again. But these don't count. So if you play a booster in a certain game week, you won't be eligible to win the £250 for that game week, understandably. One last change, though, to the game this season. Weekly prizes are 250, but for the first game week of the season, there's a £5,000 prize. So it's a bit of an incentive for new players to sign up, try and win the £5,000 in the first week of the season. And not something I particularly like, because I would have liked that to be in the prize money for the runners up, a few more runners up, but I can see why they've done it. There'll also be a second chance or second shot league that runs from January to the end of the season, where you can win £5,000. So if you've had a bad start to the season, you can still be up with a chance of winning something in the second part. Point scoring. So 6 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. This has been increased by 1 point each on last season. So last season, it was 5 points for a goal and 2 points for an assist. These have got a boost. So the attacking players that will probably benefit the most from this. Shots on target get you a point. Big chance created gets you a point. Tackles, you'll get 1 point per 2 tackles. So it brings in players like defensive midfielders, defenders, all have another way of scoring points. You get an appearance point for playing up to 60 minutes and an appearance point for playing over 60 minutes. So it's important to choose players that are more nailed. Yellow cards, -1. Red card, -3. A penalty miss will get you -3 points, and an own goal will get you a -2. So these points here apply to absolutely everyone. Defenders and goalkeepers. So goalkeepers will get 3 points for a penalty save, and more commonly, they'll get a point for every 2 saves that they make in a game. So there's no half a point for 1 save. You have to hit 2 saves to get the 1 point. And then goalkeepers and defenders also get clean sheet points, which is pretty familiar if you've played other fantasy football games. But you only get a clean sheet if your player plays at least 60 minutes. So you get 5 points for that clean sheet. If your player goes off in the 59th minute, they will not get the clean sheet points. You get -1 if your team or your defenders or goalkeeper concede 2 goals. And each goal over 2, you'll receive another -1. So if you do have a team that gets battered, you can keep getting minus points for each goal that they concede. Something also to mention on the clean sheets: if you have a player that plays 70 minutes and they are currently keeping a clean sheet and then they get subbed off, they will bank that clean sheet. If a goal goes in after they've gone off, they'll still keep the clean sheet points. That's something that might catch you out later in the season. Feels good though when it happens. On to how to score bonus points. So you get different tiers. So aside from these other points, you have the opportunity to score either 1, 3, or 5 bonus points. Now, anyone can score bonus points. It's not like FPL where I think the top 3 players will get bonus points. Anyone in your team can score bonus points based on these things. So you get something called a player performance mark. Now, you get these for in-game actions. It's all scored by Opta. And based on all the actions that your player does throughout a match, these player performance marks will tally up. And then depending on how many that you get, you will fall into a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, which will get you either 1, 3, or 5 bonus points. Now, here's what you can get player performance marks for. So remember, these aren't points, these are player performance marks. So for a successful dribble, 1 mark. Accurate cross, 1 mark. If you get an offside, you can get minus a mark. Depending on your pass completion rate, you can get 1, 2, or 3 player performance marks. So if you have 90+%, you can get 3. Not 80 to 90, you get 2, or 70 to 80, you get 1. An interception will get you a point, a mark. A block will get you a mark. A goal outside of the penalty area, a foul 1 will both get you a mark. If you concede a foul, you'll get a -1. And if you commit an error leading to a goal, you'll get a -2 mark. So these can go up and down throughout the game. And then they've added some new features or new ways to get marks for goalkeepers, which is new this season. So you can, if your goalkeeper makes a successful claim, they can get a mark. A successful punch is a mark, and a successful sweep coming out is another mark. However, I'm a bit skeptical that they're going to be that achievable for goalkeepers. We didn't see many given in the Euros when they tried this out for the first time, but goalkeepers can, of course, get all the other marks that I've read out before, but them specifically, successful claims, successful punches, and successful sweeps, they have another way to get player performance marks. On the pass completion, one other thing to mention, the player must have made 25 passes at least. So yeah, these tally up, and then you fit into a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 based on how many you get, and you'll be awarded 1, 3, or 5 points. You don't have to know this. I mean, if you're quite obsessed or enjoy the game a lot, you might dive into this mid-game. And there's a website called ffstuff.co.uk, which has a match center, and it tallies all this up live. Or the Dream Team Match Center does it itself as well, but it's a little bit slower. But I'll show you an example of what it looks like in the Match Center. So I've brought up an example from last season. Michael Elise, Wolves versus Crystal Palace. He scored 14 points overall in this match. So the way he scored this 14 points is he played 88 minutes of football, which got him the 2. So obviously less than 60 and then over 60, 2 points. He scored a goal, which got him 5 points. And he got an assist, which got him 2 points. Now, this would now be 6 points and 3 points for the goal and the assist. He had 1 shot on target, which got him a point. And he made 2 tackles, which got him a point. So those are his points banked for the bits we looked at in the point scoring. But he also scored 3 bonus points in this match. And it says in brackets 9 ppm. So that is what we've just gone through, the player performance marks. So he had an 84% pass completion rate, which got him 2 marks. He had 1 successful cross and 1 successful dribble, which got him a mark each. He won 3 fouls, which got him 3 marks. He made 1 interception, which got him a mark. And he scored a goal from outside of the area, which got him another mark. So in total, 9 player performance marks, which if you look on this little bonus tier here, 9 was between 8 and 11 player performance marks, which got him the extra 3 bonus. Now you can look at these stats on when you're picking your team and you're trying to choose a player based on if you think they're going to score points or get bonus points. Opta run it, but sites like FotMob, SofaScore, or Who Scored, it's pretty easy to have a look on all these sites to try and get an idea of who makes certain actions throughout the season. The Dream Team app has also sort of upped its game a little bit this season, and their stats center shows you a lot of these. You can flick through and look at how the player performed last season, and it's got all of their previous points. Or, like I said, you can go to ffstuff.co.uk, and they have all of last season's data for Dream Team. So if you're planning your team, you can have a look on ffstuff.co.uk. There's a link in the description below for that. Hope you found this useful so far. If you have, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel. You'll get kept up to date with all the Dream Team content that I'm putting out throughout the season. But let's go on to the next bit. Transfer allowances and deadlines. So on Dream Team, up until the first deadline, so until the season starts, you can have unlimited transfers to tinker with your team as you like. Make unlimited changes up until the first deadline. The first deadline is actually going to be the first kickoff, which is Man United and Fulham. But don't be fooled. The deadline normally after that is going to be 90 minutes before the first match of the game week. So I'll come to that in a second. Transfer allowance, you get given. So after we've had our unlimited transfers and we've had the first deadline passed, you'll then get 2 transfers per week to use. If you don't make any transfers, 1 rolls over. So you'll then have 3 to use ahead of the next game week. Now, this takes a little bit of getting used to because you'll get 2 transfers a week. You think that if you had 2 transfers and didn't use them, you'd get another 2, but it isn't the case. If you have 2 transfers and you don't use any, you'll then have 3 the following week. If you don't use any again, you'll then have 4. 4 is the most transfers you can have on this game. You won't gain any more after that. At any point, if you use 1 transfer, you'll have 2 transfers left to use the next game week. So to try and sort of, I know that sounds a bit of aggro, but basically the only way you can end up with more than 2 transfers is to do nothing. At any point, if you use 1 or use 2, you'll return to have 2 transfers the next week. You'll get the hang of it as we go along. But in my head, the thing I would like to have happened, or we think should have happened, is that if you had 2 and did nothing, you should get another 2. But if you have 2 and do nothing, you get given 3. You can either use all 3 straight away, or you can use 1, 2, but then you return to 2. If you have 3 and do nothing, you'll go to 4. I hope I haven't butchered that for you. You'll learn it as you go along. But yeah, you can only roll 1 transfer at a time, and it's if you do nothing. Let's talk about game weeks. So the season is split into scoring periods known as game weeks, which typically start on a Friday evening or a Saturday lunchtime. The deadline is not just for transfers. It's also for choosing your captain, your vice captain, and then if you want to activate a booster, which we'll come on to later, that will also have to be done before the deadline. So you have to basically make your transfers, sort your captaincy, and do your boosters before the deadline. If the deadline passes, you're locked in to whatever you had at that time. The deadline is 90 minutes before the first game of the game week. Now, this has changed. So last season, the deadline used to be 1 hour before the first kickoff. The idea being is that you don't see the lineups, although we did used to get some leaks. There's been a sort of rule change in the Premier League that the lineups are coming out a bit earlier now. So Dream Team have responded by moving the deadline back even further. So 90 minutes before the first game of each game week. There'll always be, so I've got the picture in the top right corner there. When you are setting up your team, it will give you a reminder in the top corner what the deadline is for that week. You can also go to the match center if you want to see a future game week to see when the deadline might be. It will be 90 minutes before the first kickoff of that game week. So if you go to the match center, it'll always show you what the first kickoff is. But another thing to know about the deadlines is I told you that the price changes can happen. Price changes will happen after this deadline. So ignore this first game week, because this first game week, the deadline is you're going to be able to see the lineups for Manchester United and Fulham. That first deadline is going to be the first kickoff, but future deadlines will be 90 minutes before. When price changes happen, they happen exactly at the same time as the deadline passes. So you can make all your team changes, you can set your captaincy, set your boosters, but then once the deadline passes, your team locks in and then you get given your new 2 transfers. You can then use those 2 transfers to tinker with your team, make any changes. You can still reverse them before the deadline, but nothing will lock in until the following deadline. And that will count for price changes as well. So if you've got Haaland in your team, I think is it 8.5 for this season. So if Haaland was playing an Ipswich, who he's expected to do well against, he's currently 8.5. If Haaland blanks against Ipswich, you'd expect that after the next deadline passes, his price is going to fall. It can fall up to either -3, or you can go up to +3, 0.3, or 0.1 or 0.2. The changes go up to 0.3 either side. But again, if you're bringing in a player that's had a bad week, you will lose value to your team if you bring them in and their price goes down. Again, it'll be something you sort of learn as you go along. It's not a massive deal, but it's something you want to sort of learn on the go for sure. Yeah, deadlines always on the team selection page, so you can check them out that way. Let's go on to captaincy and vice captaincy. So I did brush over it earlier. Again, ignore this team. This is an auto-picked team. I'm not sure who the £1 million striker is. He's not in my current team. Picking a captain. So again, before the deadline, you need to select yourself a captain. This player will get you double points, and a vice captain who will get you double points if your captain doesn't play. If your captain is benched and comes on, they will be your captain. The vice captain will just score normal points again. Also, if it's a double game week, we get double game weeks in Dream Team. If your captain misses the first match, but then plays the second match, your normal captain will be your captain. Your vice captain will score normal points. Negative scores are also doubled. So if you get a sending off and it's a -3, that will become a -6. But basically, just captain the player you think will score you the most points in that game week. As simple as that. Boosters. Now, this is a little bit tougher. So you get 3 boosters. You can use them once each across the season. You can only play 1 booster in a game week, so you can't play multiple boosters. And they're called 12th man, max captain, and goal bonus. A quick reminder as well, a week that you play one of these boosters, you become ineligible for the weekly prize. So 12th man, you can add a player of any price to your current team, but they can't be captained, and they'll be in your team for 1 match day only. So you'll get the points for the entire game week. So if it's a double game week, sorry, you will get them for both matches in a double game week, but after that, they will disappear. And you can't captain them. So double game weeks is typically the time you would use all of these boosters because you get an extra game out of using them. So 12th man is, I'd say, one of the weaker ones, one I haven't done so well with previously, but you can bring a player of any value into your squad. So if you've got 3 up top, you want to bring another striker in, you can have 4. It doesn't matter positionally either. Max captain, your highest scoring player becomes your captain and gets double points. So the armband will move around your team. So you still have to select a captain from the team selection bit and then ahead of the deadline. But that captain, you're not selecting a captain to be your max captain, if that makes sense. So as soon as the first kickoffs start, whoever becomes the highest scoring player in your team, the armband will automatically move to them. It's like an insurance policy. If you don't know which captain to choose on a certain week, or you think you've got multiple candidates, the game will automatically select the best possible captain from what you've got in your team. I know that confused quite a few people last season. I had quite a few comments saying, I have max captained Haaland and now it's gone on to, I don't know, Salah. It moves to whoever the highest scoring player is, and you only get double points the same you would as a normal captain. It's not a triple captain like in FPL. You don't get any more points than you usually would. It just selects the best possible captain for you. Goal bonus is a new one. So if you played the Euros Dream Team game, goal bonus replaced Park the Bus, and they've decided to stick with this new chip. So every goal your players score in that week will be worth 9 points instead of 6 points. That was 10 points in the Euros, but I guess they thought that was a bit too overpowered. They've reduced it to 9 points. So again, this is going to be a sort of game week where you're going to want to try and get the best goal scorers in your team, because you get an extra 3 points per goal. This also applies to your captain. So if your captain would have scored 6 points typically, when they get the armband, they would have scored 12 points for a goal. This time, they're going to score 9 points doubled. So if your captain scored 9 points, it would then go to 18 points. So the captain's armband still counts on a goal bonus, which could end up with some huge scores. For example, if you get a Haaland hat trick, and then you've got the captaincy and a goal boost being played, we could get some really huge scores. So we look forward to seeing some of them this season. General rule though, just typically play these in a double game week. So that's most of the basics on how to play covered off. But if you're watching on YouTube, I just wanted to show you a bit of screen share action of some things that you might find handy throughout the season. So if I bring you back to the team selection bit, I'll just show you the sort of layout on how to do everything. So when you're choosing your players, you simply just press the plus here, and then you'll have your selection along the side to choose from. You can then filter it. So if you're looking for a certain team, so for example, if you're in game week 4, the Champions League starts, you wanted to just choose from Champions League keepers, you can select the certain teams that you want for that one. So Arsenal, Aston Villa, for example, and then tick the rest, and then you'll only be filtered to choose from those players. You can reset at any point. If you want to choose your filters, just click this one. So just select your goalkeeper. I'll choose any old goalkeeper at this point. This isn't going to be my team. I'm just showing you around. One thing that you might want to get a bit of help with is how to choose or change formation. Now, this happens automatically, so there isn't a change formation button when you're selecting your team. Again, I'm just going to choose any old players. Don't come at me for this. It will automatically update depending on who you choose. So if you can see at the moment, I'm on 3 defense, 4 in midfield, 3 in attack. If you wanted to go for a back 4, you just select an extra defender. You go to 4. If you wanted 5 at the back, you just choose another defender. You'll automatically go to 5 at the back. You then choose your midfielders, for example. But then if you decide that you want an extra midfielder there, so I'll add in this 4th one. So we're on a 5-4-1. If you decide you want to move to a 4-5-1, you remove a defender and you put in an extra midfielder. It'll automatically change the formation for you. If you wanted to go to a 3-4-3, you lose another defender, you move to striker, and you just do it this way. Add another striker, add another striker. You want 3 up top, lose a midfielder, chuck them in like this. It's simple as that. Then you can confirm your team. So that's how you change formation, and then filtering through the players. You can filter by what you can afford, certain price brackets, percentage owned, which is quite handy if you're choosing. Trying to look at who the most owned players are, the ones that could hurt you from ownership. That's the way to look at it like that. And then the points from last season are also showing there, but I'm going to show you a better way to look at some of these stats. So if you go to the top, you've got these tabs. If you go along to the stats center, you then get to see all of these stats, and they've made a few changes. So you've got the stats on one tab, and then fixtures here. You then get the fixture ticker for upcoming games as well. But if you go to stats, you get a bit more of an in-depth look at everything. So you've got you can order by price, percentage owned. You've got last season's points or average points. So this is the total for everyone last season. So you can put it in order of points last season if you want to do it that way. And we've gone through the bonus system. If you want to know the players that score the most bonus, they've got it on the screen for you there. That's the bonus for last season. So you can obviously see It isn't always as you think. It brings players into the game that you wouldn't always expect. So Bruno Guimaraes was the highest bonus scoring player in the game last season. You've got players like Konsa up there for bonus, Conor Gallagher, who typically you wouldn't think would be the best sort of players to pick in a fantasy football game, but they do well for bonus based on those things that we looked at earlier. And so this shows you the basic points, but you can also go to this category here and go by performance. So if you wanted to see the player that scored the most goals, you can filter by that. Obviously, Erling Haaland, no surprise. And this is goals in all competitions as well. So these stats will differ from what you'll see on other websites. So you've got goals, assists, but you've also got the things that get you extra points like shots on target, big chances created, tackles. Obviously, you get a point per 2. And clean sheets as well last season. Goalkeepers, you've got the save totals for the keepers. Goals conceded, you've also got red cards, own goals, not so interesting. But one bit that's also, if you really liked the sound of the bonus points and how you get them, they've also got a bonus points tab. So like we said, PPM is what gets you the bonus points. You can filter by total PPM. If you wanted to know the actual bonus points, that was on the previous part. But you can look at successful dribbles, accurate crosses, pass completion rates, interceptions, blocks. It's all there for you to have a look at on the stats center. And you can filter it here as well. So if you're interested in the goalkeepers with their new PPM, you can now do keeper sweeps, successful punches, and successful claims as well. But there's no data from last season on this front because it is a new edition. The last thing I wanted to show you also was the match center, because I spoke about it earlier. But as you can see, you've got all of the matches for this week. So if it's a double game week, you'll get extra ones added. The first kickoff will always be at the top. So Friday, 16th of August, 2024. And remember, the deadline is 90 minutes before that. On the first week, just to confuse you, it's the first kickoff. But after that, so if we move to game week 2, for example, 24th of August, Saturday, you've got an early kickoff of Brighton, Man United at 12:30. So the deadline will be 90 minutes before that. And you can filter that for any of the game weeks. And obviously, the cups will get added in as we go. But yeah, just thought it'd be handy to give you a quick tour of the browser version of the game. Right, that has covered most of it. One last thing I was going to show you is how to join leagues. Now, if you haven't got a league to join, I've got my community league up on the screen. The code is 7YZKOALG. If you want to just click the link in the description below, you can auto join the league via desktop as well. I find that's a bit easier, but the code is on the screen if you want to join via the code. There's no prizes. It's just for pride or bragging rights. But it was a bit of fun that we had in the Euros, and you can auto join up if you were in the Euros League as well. If you've found this video useful, please do leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I do weekly content over here, looking at top players to target each week. I do top scoring players and key talking points, sort of reviewing each of the games that have also taken place. And you should also head over to the Dream Team Tonic podcast. We have a group of us that do regular Sun Dream Team tips. We have a podcast ourselves, which is usually on a Sunday or Monday evening. We've got a Patreon community, which there's a link in the description below to that. You get exclusive articles, access to our Discord community server as well. So if you're interested in becoming one of our Patreon members, link is in the description below for that. But definitely do go over to the Dream Team Tonic YouTube channel as well, because you can get even more Dream Team content over there. If you think there's anything that I've missed in this video as well that you need a bit of help with, feel free to leave a comment below. I always get back to the comments. So any questions, feel free, drop them below and I'll get back to you there. Hope this has been helpful and look forward to seeing you for the Dream Team season. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.